Jason belongs in hell, and I'm gonna see he gets there.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be taking a look at my Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Voorhees costume. Now, I do have this all laid out across my bed, which is why you'll see is just some of this stuff off to the sides, but don't get too distracted by it. I am going to separate this into multiple pieces, kind of, so to look at them each separately instead of looking at it all like this. This is just kind of how I wanted to start the video, with the main overview of the costume. As you can see, we are starting with the shirt. It's just a pretty simple olive green work shirt that I cut a few holes into. All I did right here is I took some scissors and I cut holes right there, and then I used sandpaper to go over it, kind of like CS5 Unmasked does. And it looks pretty good. And then under it you just put a black shirt, and if I turn it around, I just did the same thing on the back. Now around each of the holes, all I did was take some red and black paint and then water it down, and I just put it around each hole to have kind of that dried blood it has in the film. And I think that looks pretty good. And then right in the middle you have the paintball mark, which I think I did pretty okay. I do like how it isn't as noticeable on the shirt because I don't like the detail as much as some other people do. Now with the rest of the shirt, all I did is I hit it with some black spray paint from about a foot away. Just kind of dirty it up, but not make it like a full black. And I think it ended up dirtying up the shirt pretty well. Next up is the pants, which is even more simple than the shirt. It's just a pretty simple pair of light tan pants that I sprayed down with the black spray paint and then cut up and used sandpaper on the ends, just like I did with the holes in the shirt. And that's basically all I did for those. It looks pretty good. All you need to do is drape these ends over whatever kind of shoes or boots you have, and it'll work out pretty good. And yeah, they just fit pretty well with the costume, but there's nothing too special about them. Next up is the yellow work gloves. They fit me pretty well. I do think I dirtied them up a bit too much with the spray paint. I hit it a bit too far, but I did put a bit of fake blood on there, just because. You can see it on the finger right there. And yeah, they're a pretty good pair of gloves. I do really like how they look with the costume. I did kind of dirty them up a bit more because I thought the yellow was a bit too vibrant on Jason, even though they're not that dirty in the film. But yeah, I do really like how they look, and they're a pretty comfortable pair of gloves. I'm going to do the tool belt kind of as just one thing, so let's start. First off is the belt itself. And now I looked everywhere for what kind of belt this was, and I finally found a video saying what it was. And that is a pistol belt. So if you're looking for one of these, just look up pistol belt. I found this one on Amazon for about $10. It did not have the silver on it, so I took a paintbrush and some silver spray paint that I got, and I just went over the buckle on each end. And that works really well when it's all buckled together, which looks like that. Now it does have, all the holes around it, and yeah, the only annoying part is these things, which I haven't been able to get off, which kind of just block things from getting on it, but that's really about it. The next accessory is the knife. Now this is just a pretty simple Bowie knife you can get from any Party City, really. That I got, I spray painted that top part silver, and then added just a simple line of black, which I don't think I did super well on it, but it's not too big of a detail. The only other thing for it is the sheath that I made out of felt. I put some little things on the end and made that little pocket that's right there, and this top part loops around the belt and also has this brad around it, so that when the knife is in the sheath, you can pretty simply clip it in to it like that with the felt, and then it's not coming out, which really helped it for the costume. The next part is the dart pouch. This is just made of some pretty simple felt I got from a Hobby Lobby, along with some more of those brads. I went over this with a quick coat of spray paint, and in it, I just have some nails from my, like a toolkit that I put these little pieces of paper on with some string and hot glue, and then I just cut up the ends like that. And you can just slide them right into there. And I think they look pretty good for the costume. You usually just have the ends of them sticking up, which is why they're not too long. And I do really like how the thing looks. Again, it has this on the back, which is for the belt to fit through. But other than that, that's about it for the dart pouch. Up next is the machete holder. Now, I know it's supposed to be like a dark brown in the film, but the Michaels or Hobby Lobby that I went to only had the black fabric, and I bought like a whole lot of it for, all the stuff I used it for. So, I do think it looks pretty good, and it does fit the machete pretty well, so let me get that out. The machete is one of those pretty simple chrome machetes. You'll see it's something like a Party City, and I went over it with a coat of chrome spray paint because it gives it a lot more of a metallic finish than a chrome one, which I like for the machete. It has the pretty simple handle that I wanted to add like the 3 little things to, but I just didn't. And, just a pretty simple machete, and it just has the belt loop on the end of the holder, and that just fits in there pretty well. And here's what everything looks like all on the belt, and I really like how this thing turned out. I think it looks pretty good with the costume, along with just the way it all sits on the belt, and I'm just very happy with how this part of the costume turned out because it took a lot of effort. And last, but certainly not least, is the mask and hood. I'm going to start with the hood really quickly. It's just a balaclava, black balaclava that I had sitting around that I hadn't been using. So I took a ton of hot glue and put it all over it. I put it for the machete wound and the bone part of the axe wound and this little bone part. I just put it all around this to give it kind of that tree bark effect it has in the movie. And then I just went over it with a grayish green mix of paint that I made up. And it works pretty well. It's a bit tight on the head because the paint, isn't very flexible or stretchy. But other than that, it works really well. This part just goes right down into the collar and makes it look really good with the costume. And for the first hood I've ever painted or done, it's not great by, any stretch, but I do very much like how it looked because it took me a while to fully paint the balaclava with all the bone detail I had to do and all the green paint that I had to mix because it didn't go on the balaclava very easy, which is why it's kind of faded in some areas. But yeah. Now, the part of this that took me undoubtedly the most time was the mask, because this started out as a normal Spirit Halloween mask. So what I ended up doing was taking about an inch off the top here because it was really tall. Luckily, these masks are very circular, like the one in part 6, which make it look a lot better than like some of those eBay masks you can get, which are a lot more to like the part 3 masks. So then I removed all of the straps, and I added the axe wound, and then I went over it with I think 3 coats of tan spray paint to get it all kind of shiny. And then I drilled in and put in the brads for the snaps down here, which it didn't have. And then I put in these leather strips that I got from Michaels. There is an extra kind of brad here than there is in the film. And I didn't cut these super well, but they do work for the brown leather straps that he has in the movie. Now, some people don't like those, but I do really like the brown leather straps on the mask in the movie. I think it looks really nice. So that is the leather that I kind of have on there, that I got from Michaels for I think $5. And then I painted on the chevron with just some red paint. And then I went back and painted on with the tan, just for that kind of scratching detail in the film that it has. And then I took some very thin black fabric to make the kind of eyes, which you can see out of. And they are completely dark, like they are in the movie. And I do very much like how that turns out. And yeah, that really is it for the Jason mask. It took me forever to make, but I'm very happy with the result.